The self-sufficiency garden is less than 6 months old and we've already harvested over 300 kilos of food, and so I thought I'd show you a little bit of a late summer tour so you can see kind of what's happening and just how much more food there is to come. It's definitely past the target of 365 in 12 months. Just a quick one, the Self-Sufficiency Garden, which I co-wrote with my friend Sam, is available for pre-order in the UK and the US. The link is down below. It's based off this garden, how to grow nearly 600 kilos of food in a year. That's a lot of food. Anyway, back to last summer. I could be really lazy because of the size of the garden. I could just do a tour and point at like, oh, look at the climbing beans and the hotbeds. There are hotbeds behind this mass jungle. But I just want to give a general overview and then I'll show you some of my favourite things, some varieties, a lot of succession happening. So just right in front of me here, Savoy winter cabbages coming on really nicely. I interplanted with pak choi, already harvested 2, and I think I'm going to just go in and harvest another one for Sam's dinner because I'm off to do a talk later today. So just maximising space within the garden. Look at that, absolute beauty. And then I'm being a little bit clever with just trying to make some more space. So I've put some spring onions in there, which are coming on nicely. So far, it's been really nice downscaling into having something smaller, because from one spot I can actually, apart from the polytunnel because I can't see completely through it, I can just keep an eye on everything and I can spot things. So like in the far corner I can see the popping red of some raspberries, which are gonna actually be the first of this year, so I actually want to go and eat some now. So being a small space, it's quite an intimate garden. So I've got this low tunnel just next to me here, and I'm growing some perennials as well, because even though annuals are far more productive and I need to average around 5 kilos of food per square metre of growing space, when I grow something like onions, which averages 9 to 10 kilos per square metre of just the bulbs alone, it means that I can add in some extra things that aren't quite as productive, like nasturtiums and mint, but also these raspberries here. So I'm now just gonna pick the raspberries, and I'm expecting much bigger things from them this year because it is just their first year. But like putting in the rhubarb, we've got 7 kilos of rhubarb just from 2-year-old crowns. So it's surprisingly productive when you weigh everything, how it compounds. I've just been blown away by how much food you can grow in a small space. Obviously in a small space, one of the ways to maximize how to grow stuff is making use of the vertical. So this is a climbing French bean called Abundance, and it is certainly living up to its name. In here I had the garlic growing, I then pulled it out and now enjoying these beans and adding a nice little bit of structure and visual interest within the garden and getting 2 pretty decent crops within the same growing season, rather than thinking, oh, I only have enough time to maybe grow some salads once the garlic is out. That is not the case. If you're clever with succession sowing and you start things off in modules around 4 to 6 weeks beforehand, like what I show in the book, it gives you the list of everything that you've got to sow ready to transplant the following month. It means that you can absolutely maximize how much you grow for very little effort, because if you just follow a plan and you do what you need to do, I've been blown away by how simple this is. I think I spend more time in this garden harvesting and taking photos than actual gardening, which I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but it just is. These low tunnels have come in really handy at the start of the season, and now we're about to experience their main benefits again towards the end of the growing season, because if you put a layer of plastic over the top, it extends your growing season roughly by a month each side, plus keeps things a little bit warmer so you can grow things that might not be fully hardy during a really cold winter. This is a load of beetroot. I've got just standard bold hardy and then also golden Detroit beetroot here and Boldor beetroot, which have been sown, a mixture between sowing and transplanting, and this is going to be what I get to enjoy as nice bulbs, tasty bulbs over winter for a nice bit of sweetness. So in this bed we grew Oregon sugar pods, around 5 kilos of the Monge 2 just on the top edge of the bed, and then there's a bunch of beetroot and then fennel. Those have all been taken out. Now it's daikon radish that's gone in this way and Spanish black round winter radish that way. So again, another example of succession planting. And it's like one of the main things that I'm trying to ensure is that there's no such thing as a hungry gap within this small space. So behind me here I've got this kale which is growing. Obviously that's going to provide a lot of greens over winter, but during the hungry gap I get all of the flower shoots that I get to enjoy. And then I've also got swede and parsnips just over here, which are going to provide a lot of food over winter that I'm really excited about. So there's crops in here that I haven't yet eaten, even though we're growing around 40 to 45 different types of crops in this small space. And that's one of the main things of self-sufficiency. You don't just want to bulk grow 3 things unless you're happy eating 3 things for the rest of your life. I want diversity, I want flavour, I want a little bit of interest, and to taste the changing seasons, to always keep things vibrant when it comes to the kitchen. So this is one of the hotbeds. This is where all of the salads were grown during the hungry gap, around 7 kilos of it. Then in went cauliflower, spaghetti squash, and cucumbers. I harvested the cauliflower a couple of weeks ago. All the cucumbers are growing underneath it. Around 7 kilos of cucumbers so far. One of the things that I want to mention, there's a really nice one here. This is Market More. One of the nice things to mention is that even though this is a small garden, I am overproducing some things like cucumbers and like tomatoes, 45 kilos of tomatoes so far. What I'm doing, I'm selling them at local greengrocers. So it's actually bringing in a little bit of money, which I can use next year to do my seed order, thus making this even more self-sufficient, which is what we want. And I cannot wait. I'm getting quite hopeful actually. I cannot wait to see when this is all kind of died back down, how the quality of the compost is looking underneath. Another little thing that we're doing here, runner beans. There's only so many runner beans that you want to eat as beans, but a nice thing that you can do is you can let them dry like you're going to be saving seed from them. Save them like you would for saving seed. Dry the seeds on some baking trays on an inside windowsill. And then you can soak those whenever it comes to cooking a stew or a casserole, because you can just keep them nice and dry. So you can use them for bulking up or adding a good protein source to a lot of your winter stews, which is just an alternative way. So it's being like, it might just be one crop, but there's multiple ways of using it. I'm very excited because it's aubergine or eggplant season, and already harvested about 3 so far. Lots on their way, but just look how beautiful these are. I've got lots of little ones coming along. The pollinators have been nice and busy in here. The cucumber here, it was 6 plants, and we're currently at around 23 kilos of cucumbers from 6 plants, and I haven't done any bit of pruning, because another thing about self-sufficiency is trying to be as efficient as possible with time. Yes, I prune my tomatoes because I find that nice and easy, especially as they're indeterminate, but with cucumbers, they just grow so fast. I kind of let them do their thing, and it produces a huge amount of food. So this is about 1.5 meters of space, so really productive. So the tomatoes have been coming along really nicely. Now, because it's later in the season, I've been clearing a lot, especially along the stem, a lot of the growth. On average, we've produced over 7 kilos of tomatoes per square meter already, and when all of these tomatoes come out, this bed is then going to transition into a lot of winter salads to then feed us over winter. Some of those things, like if we're growing peas for pea shoots, then when the hungry gap appears before the next batch of tomatoes, we'll be able to enjoy some peas. And so every kind of month and season blends into one another. There's never a hard stop. There's always a transition, like the underplanting of these tomatoes, and so it feels like the garden is in one continuous journey of feeding me and Sam. Now, even though this is a very kind of carefully planned garden, I can't help myself but experiment with some things. These are the Sarpo potatoes that I'm going to harvest when they die back a little bit more. But I've done 5 tubs just in compost and 5 tubs of a 50-50 mix of compost and basically semi-composted leaf mould. I was having a dig about, just seeing if there was anything in there. And this is the compost and leaf mould. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely be doing a video of a harvesting, just to see if there's any big comparison. So just a demonstration of a super quick little harvest every time I come here into the garden. And if you want to see the full playlist of this self-sufficiency garden and trying to feed your family, watch this playlist over there to learn a load. And also don't forget to check out the book written by myself and Sam.